So February 25th, we're going to hear from Professor Stanford Lewis. He's a retired professor from formerly of Rutgers University, Lemoyne-Owen College, Harvard University, and also Cornell University. He's going to share information about the life and times of both Maywood's favorite son, and that's Fred Hampton, and he's going to share information on civil rights icon, Congressman John Lewis. I'm really looking forward to hearing from him. He used to live in the area here, and he's set up a number of different programs. One in particular I thought was especially interesting, and he called it Maleness to Manhood, and it was for African American males, trying to help them navigate these waters that they have to deal with in community in a larger area. So I'm excited about him coming forth. Next month is Women's History Month. And we're going to hear from some dynamic women who are doing some dynamic things or have done some dynamic things. And I'm excited about our very first speaker, and that will be Senator and Ambassador Carol Mosley Braun. Carol, I know, she was the first Black woman who served in the U.S. Senate. And I remember having a conversation with her a number of years ago. And she told me when she went to the Senate and asked admittance to be admitted, she was told, "You don't belong here." So from that day to this, of course, she's been fighting a good fight. Of course, she's not in the Senate anymore, but she has some nuggets that she's going to share with us, and some ideas on how we as elected women, or women who want to serve in elective office, unless we share information, then people are going to make the same mistakes that others have made. So while we stand on her shoulders, she wants to share with us on how we can avoid some of those pitfalls. So I'm just really excited about hearing from her. And I see Alex Sims is now with us. And hi, Alex. Listen, let me just shift gears very quickly. Alex, talk about a phenomenal woman. And she's just getting started, okay? I mean, she really, really is. Alex believes that one's birthplace and economic status should not disproportionately determine one's life journey. She came to Chicago by way of Metro Detroit to attend Northwestern University, majoring in social policy. Motivated by President Barack Obama's social policies, she was appointed to head his 2012 presidential campaign for St. Louis. Following Obama's historic victory, she continued as a state coordinator with Organizing for Action and relocated to Chicago headquarters. Yay for us that she's here. As a campaign manager for Kurt Summers' race for city treasurer, she directed Treasurer Summers' impactful 77 in 77 platform. Maybe she'll share with us what that is. Once elected, Alex was named senior advisor for the treasurer's office and helped to advance an agenda of financial equity. The establishment of APS and Associates distills the remarkable skills and talents that Alex has honed. And after 3 years into business, her client base is vast, with clients from the Obama Foundation to Speaker Welch to State's Attorney Kim Foxx to J.B. Pritzker for governor, and who knows where she goes from here. But to all of you, I want to present to many of you. You're going to hear from her now, but look out for Alex as she tackles the world's problems, and she comes from us. Alex?
Thank you so much, Clerk. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share more just about the Black Bench and a little bit about my background. But thank you so much. We're just trying to follow in your footsteps like you all were just talking about. So, the 77 and 77 you referenced was a program that we did through Treasurer Summers' campaign where we visited 77 communities in 77 days. So we went to all of Chicago's neighborhoods and built teams in every neighborhood to hear from the community what they thought the treasurer's office could do. What the treasurer's office actually does do is what we shared with them, and then from there built relationships throughout his 4 years in office. For me, that was a really important time. Not being from Chicago, I learned a lot about the different neighborhoods, a lot of the community organizers, and at that time it was the city. We weren't in the rest of the county, but I learned a whole lot more about the rest of the county working on State's Attorney Fox's two races and J.B. Pritzker's race. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I can share more about the bench if that's what you'd like, Clerk. Is that helpful?
The floor is yours.
All right, thank you all. So over the years that I have been kind of working on political organizing throughout Cook County and throughout Illinois, a lot of folks had told me that they wish they knew more about public affairs. They wish they had a sense of how to manage a city budget. We don't have any Black pollsters really that many, so they wanted to know more about data and how to look at polls. They wanted to know more about petition gathering. So, I've been blessed to be able to be in different spaces where I've learned these skills along the way. And I thought it was really important that we ask the generation above us to help teach us these skills. And we as a group, Black millennials, come together to learn them and get ready to fill some of these leadership positions. So I kind of called upon a lot of leaders in our community and asked them if they would be okay training the next generation. And then what we decided to do is call it the Black Bench. So Jonathan Swain out of Hyde Park, who owns Kimbark Beverages and he's also, well, I think you all know who Swain is, but he also, serves on the Board of Elections as a commissioner. He and I kind of came together, asked a bunch of people, and we created the Black Bench. So we can go to the next slide. So as we shared, there not that many mechanisms in place right now that trains our next generation. You have some communities like the clerks that have young Democrats training programs, but not all communities do. We also wanted this to be a little bit more broad than just Democrats and us running for office. This is about training the next generation in public affairs. So an example is, recently I had a call from one of the major rideshare companies, and they were wondering, do we have anyone young and Black who knows how to run issue campaigns, also knows how to manage intergovernment affairs, and can manage a PAC? They needed that person to take that job right away. I didn't have a lot of names available to give them. So we're hoping that the Black Bench can train our generation to fill some of those spots. And we want to make sure that all these ecosystems work well together, from corporate to labor to campaigns to elected officials, that we all know each other and can work well together. Maybe not all get along, but at least speak to each other. And you can head to the next slide. So as I said, we're a nonprofit, and we are nonpartisan, and we are ready and excited to learn from the generation above us. So this is a clip taken from a Tribune article that was written just yesterday about the Black Bench. I'm also willing to take any questions throughout the presentation. If folks want to put those in the chat box, that's fine too, or we can save them for the end. We can head to the next slide. So when setting up the Black Bench, we felt like it was very important to have leadership from all generations. So we reached out to Secretary White and Jackie Grimshaw and asked them if they would help us put this together. Both of them have a vast history in politics in Illinois, politics in Chicago, but they're also kind of from different ends of the political spectrum. We wanted to build a advisory board and an organization that replicated those ends. So had people who were in business in one political family and people who were organizers in another. So both Jackie and the secretary have been gracious to kind of help us, guide us along the way. I myself am a program director, which basically just means operationally I'm helping to put the curriculum together, helping to put all the relationships together, relationship management. And Ronnie Mosley is the other picture you see there. Ronnie is another person. We're both millennials and we're both kind of coming together to bring this program together. Ronnie has background. He grew up in St. Sabina with Father Flager. He's worked for probably 4 or 5 campaign cycles. He currently works at the state under Toy Hutchinson doing cannabis work. You can head to the next slide. So this is our advisory board. As I mentioned, it was really important to us to get a vast advisory board of different opinions. And the idea is, you see Andy Zopp on the list. The idea is if there's someone in our class who is interested in going into the private sector and wants to understand how corporations and government work together, there's probably not a lot of better folks on the list than Andy Zopp to teach you that. We have Treasurer Summers on the list. If someone wants to learn about city government, Treasurer Summers is a great person to help teach them about city budgeting. And the same for the rest of the list. Stacey Davis Gates is on the list to talk about labor. Tara Cooper is on the list to talk about earned media and how to manage the press. So that's why you see all these different names. Also important to us to have geographic diversity. We don't want it to be too south side heavy, too west side heavy, too suburban. So it was important to get different numbers and folks from different regions. And we can head to the next slide. So the curriculum is starting off with, it's really important for me that the cohort builds a relationship and gets to know each other. So the first day is really about just building community. And then we go straight into Black philosophy from an academic lens. We have a couple professors coming in to talk about Black Chicago history. And then from an anecdotal lens, so we'll hear from people who are more from the boomers generation about the difference between the machine and organizing and what that looks like. So we're trying to give our cohort the academic lens and then the more anecdotal lens on all these topics. When we talk about government levers, we want to hear a little bit about what it is to be in government and what zoning looks like, but then also hearing from lobbyists and what it is to be on the outside and a lever that pushes government, what it is to be a Black lobbyist or what it is to be Black in labor. So all of those things kind of moving in coordination is when we talk about government and lever. So the class will hear from those folks. Campaign operations is kind of the next 2 cohorts and next 2 modules that they'll learn about. And it's everything from your campaign kickoff event to your opposition research on your opponent to how to collect petitions. And this is campaigns, not just elected office campaigns, but also campaigns that are issue-based, like a minimum wage fight or like a gun violence fight. How do they structure those campaigns? So they'll learn from a lot of us that do that kind of work. I myself, I think by this time might have 12 cycles under my belt, and that's can be election cycles for candidates or issue campaigns. So, yep, and then the last module is them all coming together to think about what direction they want to head and how they can work together in the future. So it's a 6-month program, and throughout the program, they meet every second Saturday of the month, and they are in that class. for the first couple months, we'll be making sure that it's virtual. And then we're hoping at some point they can all meet in person, but for us, it's always going to be safety first. So that's kind of the breakdown and the outline of the curriculum at this time. And then the applicants. So we were really surprised, excited, but surprised to, in just 14 days, have had 200 applicants. And I think it's because there's a need for this in our community. We are focused on making sure that my generation has the skill set that they need. And when they heard about the program, they applied in drones. So we had initially planned on selecting 15 folks. Because of such strong applicants and such interest, we bumped that number up to 31. And even with that, we're disappointed because there were so many strong applicants that we wish we could have included. So depending upon how successful this program is this year, we would love to try it again next year. So we'll see how that goes. And this is the class. We announced the folks that were selected for the Black Bench on Monday. Here they are. It's really exciting. You have everyone from folks who are currently working in labor and activism, to folks who are law partners, to radio hosts, to folks in the military. I think that you'll find some people are interested in running for office in the future, but I think a lot of people are just interested in progress and impact in our community. So I'm excited. I myself am a millennial, so I will be sitting in on the classes as well, just to learn more about each topic. But this is our exciting new cohort. We were driving around in the snow, dropping off packages to them on Monday, little champagne bottles with a mask, just congratulating them. We're trying to find ways to create community, even though we're all virtual. So they're excited, and their first cohort is the 27th, which is, they'll hear both from Secretary White and Jackie Grimshaw, because it's all about the community that they're building and learning to get to know each other. So that's the last slide. So that's the Black Bench at this point. I would love to kind of tell you all more about as we go around the process. We're definitely learning already from how to improve this if we do this program again. But I can open it up for any kind of questions or concerns at this point.
Okay, so we had some people with their hands up. So we'll start first with Michelle Hassan. Michelle, unmute yourself and you may speak. Okay, we'll go ahead to Jordan. Jordan, go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, Alice, good afternoon. Got a question for you. So in terms of when the program is over and have gone through this program, what's the general thoughts of connecting two different community-based organizations, labor, political? So what they learn is then being utilized and amplified with organizations that could either take their support, help them strengthen and improve what they're currently doing?
Yeah, so we're hoping, hi, Jordan. I think that what you're asking is, are we hoping that they take these skill sets, take them back to where they're currently working to further improve the work of those organizations?
Yes, and here's a good example. So some organizations could utilize some of their skill sets. So let's just take the Chicago Urban League or the Young Democrats of Cook County or other organizations. How could they utilize that and plug into organizations that can really help and grow what they're already doing?
Yeah, I think that the skill sets, and I hope that the skill sets they take away will be pivotal. I just got a call right before this call from an organization that does kind of activism work, and they want to put out a press release and get some press on this activism that they're doing. And they're looking for help on reaching out to the press and with what the best press contacts are, what reporters would be most interested in this story. I'm hoping that the Black Bench cohort can walk away with those skill sets so that there's more Black people in these positions that know how to manage press, if that makes sense. So that would be an example where I think they could really empower their organizations, empower an organization like the Urban League, if they're walking away with earned media skill sets and how to pitch to the press appropriately and who to pitch to. The Chicago Press Corps is very difficult, and I think that there are not many of us, many Black individuals who really know how to talk to the Chicago Press Corps. So I'm hoping they walk away with that skill set. In addition, paid media. Oftentimes in campaigns and public affairs, Black folks are regulated to the field. We're the folks that are door knocking. We're the folks that are building paid canvases. Not often are we in TV. Not often are we in polling. Those are other areas of campaigns where there's a lot of room for not only money, but our talent is missing there. So this Black Bench program can teach folks how to do TV, how to do media. And those are just two skill sets that I think are examples that they can take on to their companies and help. I personally think that the budget training is the training I'm most interested in. In my opinion, government circulates and revolves around budget, and whether that be in Cook County and federal or local and city. So learning where the loopholes are in the budget, learning where to look for funding is something important for, I think, a lot of the community organizations, a lot of the government departments, and I hope that they learn that skill set and then take it back to their jobs there. I hope that answers your question, Jordan.
It does. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Yeah, I have one other question. It looks like from Robin asking, are classes for only millennials? So the classes right now, the bench is only for millennials. We looked into Pew Research and said, what is the definition of a millennial? It said 25 to 45. I've had a lot of feedback from everyone over 45 saying that they wish this was available for them, and a lot of feedback from people under 25 saying they wish it was available for them. So unfortunately, we can't serve everyone. I do think that the 25 to 45 age range is pretty broad. So we're hoping to serve those people right now. And maybe there'll be other programs that develop for a younger generation or an older generation. This is one of those things where I think we started something and then we hope a lot of other people start other things too. We don't think this should be the end all be all for training. Any other questions?
Looks like that's it. There's the questions. Clerk Yarbrough, do you have a question?
I know Michelle Hassan had a question. Michelle? I see her here, but she's not unmuted.
No, I don't have a question, but thank you so much for presenting this information. I'm really excited to hear that this is available for millennials.
Do you have a couple of millennials in your household, or Michelle, are your kids in this age group?
They are. However, my millennials are on their own now, and I so appreciate that.
That's a beautiful thing. But maybe they might have interest. Are they still in the? Are they still in the area?
I was thinking about it. One is. But she's expecting right now. So I'm thinking that this might be something for her in the future. Definitely. I'm sure she would be interested in it because, yes, she would be interested.
Okay. And then Robin mentioned, that was her question. Robin, I think you have two millennials in your household. Robin? Okay, so wherever she went, I know Jamaica has a millennial in her household.
I sure do.
Can you put him to work here?
Yes.
Plug him in?
I definitely will. This is great information. Thank you, Alex. We need this in our community.
Thank you. I mean, I will say I was really excited to be able to call all these different folks and then quickly say, yes, I'll help. What can I do? I think it was also great. We're funded by, all Black money right now as well, which is important to us. So I think that if we do this again, which, I hope to do, then we'll want to make sure that we have some additional funding. Right now I have, as the clerk mentioned, I have Speaker Welch, State's Attorney Fox, the Obama Foundation, and a couple other clients that are keeping me busy. So if this is something that folks would like to do again, I'm hoping we can find someone else to run it as an actual director and make it a real nonprofit with more stability. But for now, this first round, we're just happy to have such a strong cohort and a strong advisory board that's ready to train this group. So I think on that last slide was my information, but I can make sure to email it around if anyone has any further questions.
Also your contact information, if you would make that available to us. I'm sure that our members and our guests today will probably be thinking about who they know that would be good to plug into what you're doing. I think it's important work. I've always said that, we have to pull the next generation up. We have to share information with them so that they won't make the same mistakes that we've made over the years. And you have two great folks as the co-chairs here. Certainly Secretary White has a plethora of experience and information, and there's a reason why he has won all 102 counties Illinois wide. I don't know if people know that, but he has he's really broken lots of barriers for a lot of people. And the other thing he's done is always reached back and helped others. His pet is the Jesse White tumblers, and if any of you have had opportunity to see the Jesse White tumblers, they are amazing. These are kids from many of them are formerly from Cabrini Green, and he's plugged them into some good work, helped them be successful, and I don't know how many generations of folks he's been able to help. So I'm thrilled about what you're doing, Alex, and anything that I can do to help, please reach out and touch somebody. You know how.
I do, and I really appreciate you. Appreciate all of you all for listening. Let me know if there's any questions. I'll send my contact information around as well.
We'll circulate that to the club as well. So grateful that you could be with us today, Alex. And you're easy to listen to and very, I'm looking for a better word than stimulating, but definitely, I'll say inspiring.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. We're a little bit early, and maybe someone else will come up with a question yet, but I wondered if anyone had a question about the Rotary Club or Rotary in general. I guess, Armanda, you could see if there is a hand raised or not. But again, that contact information is on the screen for folks that are visiting today. We've got a lot of visitors. We had talked about maybe introducing them. Karen, what's your pleasure?
Oh my goodness. I'm looking at, as you know, we're collaborating with the clerk's office, and many of the folks are sitting around a computer together. I see Delilah Clark, Kelly Roebuck, Patricia Welch, and Cassandra Mohammed. They're all listening from the same computer, and they're having their lunch. So this served for my staff a lunch and learn. And we provided them with I don't know if it was a coupon or a card for lunch so that they could participate with us. And we were happy to do this because I knew it would have import to all of them. So I don't know if any of them may have a question, but I can't see everybody that's on this call. I cannot see them. So
Clerk, we do have one question for a speaker from a Brian Cross.
Okay.
And he's asking, Alex, could you talk about the challenges you have faced as a Black consultant?
Sure. Do we have 4 more days? Yeah, I think that some of the biggest challenge for me is when you are one of the only folks around the table kind of giving opinions, you're looked at as the Black voice in addition to being, in addition to your skill set, and it's a blessing and a burden for me. It's a blessing that I can be there and help educate and give direction, but it can be a burden because it's almost as if it's a Black tax. It's an addition to my job that I didn't sign up for, nor am I ever paid for. So I think that that's one of the biggest things. But I take it and do things like this program because I think it's just so important that I'm not one of the only ones at the table, and that we have an opinion. And I think that campaigns can be harsh. They look at constituency groups, right? So people talk about people very bluntly, and they look at votes as numbers. And sometimes they lack compassion or feeling or justice. So I think that can be rough when you're the Black consultant in the room because they want to know how do you get that vote and not how do I positively impact that community.
Alex, as much as, and I hear you loud and clear about being the only person in the room, and I always have to remind people that we're not monolithic. We really aren't, never have been, and until people get it in their thick heads that we don't all think the same. We're not even the same color, for crying out loud. We just don't. It depends on what our upbringing was and our experiences. It depends on how we were socialized. There's so many things that make us individually as who we are. Now, Carolyn Wilhite, she wants to know if any of your trainees have gone on to be an elected official.
Right. So this will be our first round. I have a feeling that some of them that are running or some of them that are in the program will want to run for office eventually. So it's good to give them the skill set. So I anticipate so, but we'll see. I'm not sure yet. And I agree with you, Clerk. And that's a mind shift and a paradigm shift that you have when you're the one in the room having to explain that and give advice and actually do your other job is always the 3 steps that you have to take. And we have clients that are corporate clients as well. So it's different every room you step into.
Agreed. Mr. President, is there another question?
Yes, there is another question. So from a B. Parker. B. Parker, if you can unmute yourself and begin to speak. B. Parker. Okay. I don't know why B. Parker. So.
Okay. Well, maybe they'll find
the
way.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. President, I'm going to be recommending Brian Cross as for membership coming up real soon. Brian has attended all of our lunch and learns, and so be ready to see him to join us.
That name sounds vaguely familiar. I'm joking a bit. Former board member of District 209.
Yes.
Proviso Township, and a lot of experience downstate in Springfield.
Sure. But I want to thank Alex though for taking the time out of her schedule. I know she's all over the place and what have you, but to spend this time with us, I am deeply grateful to her for doing so. And again, Alex, anything I can do to help in any way to do whatever, just reach out. You've been helpful to me as well. So I'm glad you didn't mention that, but you have, and I appreciate you. So Mr. President, this ends our program. And for those of you who are on, please remember Alex, you're going to see and hear from her again.
No, I shouldn't have forgotten, Karen, but did you mention next month as well? Do you want to? That was covered?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, I mentioned next month is Women's History Month, and we have kicking off the month is Ambassador and Senator Carol Moseley Braun. Next week, we're going to hear from Professor Stanford Lewis, retired professor formerly of Rutgers University, Harvard University, and Cornell. And he's going to discuss the life and times through poetic pieces about Maywood's favorite son, Fred Hampton, and civil rights icon, Congressman John Lewis. So join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Karen, for a wonderful job of lining up amazing speakers. Alex, you're one of them. You really move us forward, and it's been very helpful to me personally. Have a wonderful day. Blessings to you and your work, Alex. Thank you, everyone, and we're signing off. The meeting is adjourned.